We've talked about why we lose the trust in ourselves, that self trust. We've talked about how to start rebuilding it and some of the biggest mistakes or myths that keep us stuck. But here's the thing, none of that matters unless you actually start living it in your daily life. Self trust, it's not something that you just understand. It's something that you practice. It's a muscle you build moment by moment. And so today I'm going to show you exactly how to start to make this shift real. I'll be breaking down how to take everything we've covered in this series and actually embody it, actually live it, so that deep self trust, that connection to your inner voice, that trust in your inner voice and your intuition becomes who you are, not just something you are working on. All right, so welcome back to the Magic Mindfulness Podcast. I am Rachel. And if you've been following this series, you know that we've been diving deep into self trust, what blocks it, how to rebuild it, and why so many approaches don't work. Now, if you haven't caught the first four episodes yet, you can go back and watch those first if you want to. This one's going to tie everything together. At least that's my intention. And of course, this series is sponsored by Wildly Aligned Women, my 12-week program where we don't just talk about self trust, we embody it. So if you have been loving this series, this program is where we take it even deeper. So if you have been on the fence, now's the time to jump in. Doors close tonight at midnight if you are catching this with me live. And if you are catching this at a later date, just check the link in the show notes to get on the wait list for the next time we have this program open. All right, so I want to share with you today three keys to really integrating and embodying self trust in your day to day. So, the first one I want to share with you is to commit to small, consistent actions. Now, we've touched on this a bit, but how do you really commit to it in the day to day? We've talked about how self trust, it's not built on one big breakthrough. Instead, it's built in the tiny choices that you make every single day. In yoga, this aligns with the concept of consistent, committed practice over time. Small changes, baby steps, my friend, baby steps add up to big, lasting, sustainable transformation. Self trust works that same way. You know, one of my students shared that she used to wait until she felt ready to take action. I've been there myself too, my friend. What is the saying that if you wait until you're ready, you'll never begin? But through our work together, she was able to realize that the only way that she was really going to build that self trust, the only way she was going to build the trust in herself, whether it was to start showing up for herself daily. And the more she did it, the more natural it became, right? Just like one time I hired a coach to help me feel more confident. Well, the confidence doesn't come from hiring somebody to help you become more confident. It came from stepping out of my comfort zone and getting more confident and stepping outside of my comfort zone day by day. You know, the more I did it, the easier it got. Same with teaching yoga. That was really, really hard at first. I was not confident at all teaching yoga at first. Now I feel very confident because I have done it so many times. It's a practice, my friend. That's why we call it a practice. So, what you can do, pick one small action that you can take every day that reinforces self trust. Maybe it's checking in with yourself before making decisions. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's simply noticing when you're second guessing yourself from a place of curiosity, non judgment, and self compassion. Maybe it is picking the restaurant or picking the movie. You know, how hard can these small tasks we face every day? It can be so hard to decide. Take a pause, take a deep breath, tune into your gut, tune into your inner reaction, and notice what feels most aligned for you. Next up, build a relationship with your intuition. What do I mean by that? Well, most of us have spent years, I like to kind of think of it as outsourcing our decisions. We poll our friends, right? Phone a friend, reading self help books, looking for external validation. But that real trust in yourself, true self trust, it comes from strengthening your connection to your inner voice, your inner wisdom. But so many of us don't even know how to listen to it anymore because there's so much noise around us. We've got so much conditioning piled on, layer over layer over layer. And so in yoga, this is tied to this concept of pratyahara. And you might be like, what the heck is that, Rachel? Well, it's a practice of withdrawing from external distractions, withdrawing of the senses so that you can hear your inner voice more clearly. You know, one of my students said that she used to analyze every decision to death. Me too, my friend. But when she started checking in with her body, noticing where she felt tension and where she felt ease, she realized that if she slowed down to listen, she oftentimes knew what she truly wanted at her core, at her heart level. She just had to, first of all, slow down enough to listen and then trust herself enough to take inspired action based on that inner knowing. So, what do we do instead? Well, instead of overthinking your next decision, pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what feels right in my body? And trust the answer that comes up for you. Feel into it. All right. And then the third that I want to share with you today is to surround yourself with the right support. I cannot tell you how valuable having the right support system around you is. Self-trust, you don't have to figure it out alone. In fact, one of the fastest ways to rebuild it is by surrounding yourself with people who reflect your inner wisdom back to you. And that's why community is such a core part of Wildly Aligned Women. It's a very small, intimate group because when you are around other women who are also practicing self-trust in a small, safe environment, it reinforces your own. You know, the last time I ran this program, someone shared with me that before joining the program, she constantly second guessed herself. But by being in a space where other women were also learning to trust themselves, she felt safe enough to start doing the same thing. And that changed so much. So, what to do instead of isolating yourself? Ask yourself, instead of doing this by myself, who in my life supports my self-trust? Who can reflect my inner wisdom back to me? Who will inspire me, help me to build that muscle? So, for example, maybe you have a partner and you can never decide what's for dinner. And you say, you know, I'd like to decide the next time we go out to dinner. So they're going to cheer you on, but they're probably going to be really supportive too, that they don't have to make that decision all the time. So ask yourself, who in my life could support my self-trust journey? And if you don't have that yet, or even if you do, bring a friend. Come join us inside Wildly Aligned Women. All right, so we've covered a lot over these last 5 episodes. So let's recap. We covered why we lose trust in ourselves and how we can rebuild it, some of the biggest myths and mistakes that keep us stuck, how to stop overthinking and actually trust ourselves again, and the real reason that this approach actually works and how to integrate it into your life so you can truly embody it. And the biggest takeaway, self-trust, it's not about doing more. Instead, it's about peeling back the layers one by one, step by step, that keep you from hearing yourself, that keep you from tuning in and trusting your own inner voice. Now, if you've been feeling that pull, if this series has spoken to you, if you're ready to actually live this work instead of just thinking about it, this is your chance to join Wildly Aligned Women before door closes tonight. Now, inside, we take everything we've talked about in this series and we make it real. You will get support, real-time coaching, and a space to practice these shifts in a way that actually sticks. Now, join here before the doors close at midnight tonight. I'm going to share the link in the show notes, www.rachelhupp.com/wildly aligned, all one word. And if you are listening to this down the road, you can check the show notes for a link to join the waitlist for the next time that we join. Now, I would love to welcome you inside. I would love to personally support you on your journey. And if you have any last minute questions, just send me a DM on Instagram at I am Rachel Hupp or email me at hello@rachelhupp.com. I would love to hear from you. I'm happy to help you. I'm happy to answer your questions. And if this series resonated with you, let me know in the comments, what was your biggest takeaway from these last 5 episodes? I would love to hear from you. All right, my friend, that is it for this series, but I will be back soon for more. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next.